All right, this video, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of CONIFER, Colorado, because there are some things that will typically come up in our conversations with clients that excludes CONIFER as being an option. They're like, I don't like it, it's not for me. And then there's other instances, people are like, perfect. That's like exactly what I'm looking for. And so there are some pros and cons, like the video says, that we're going to get into. And stay to the end, because the last one is where you're going to find that sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am Sean Murphy, and this is my tremendously great business partner,
Josh O'Shea.
Yeah, we are the Mountain Men of Moxie, a real estate team up here in the Foothills, Colorado. On this channel, we make videos about what it's like to live up here, pros and cons, cost of living, neighborhood tours, all that good stuff. So if you are into all that jazz, subscribe and then hit that bell so
you are notified each time we make one of these fun videos.
All right, well, let's get on into it. One of the first mountain towns that you're going to be hitting if you're driving up 285, CONIFER. So the first one I'm going to go, it's a pro and a con depending on what type of life you're trying to lead, because I am a fan of being on well and septic. I think having your own like water source is pretty cool, especially with like corporations like PepsiCo. They're trying to like take all the water from some communities, and our water is super tremendously delicious up here. And so I think that is a big pro to have your own well source or water source through your well and your septic, right? Septic, I think, would be the item that people can sometimes see as a con.
Yeah, because some people think it's like actually a huge burden to have this septic system that all of your stuff goes down into, and it's got to be in your yard. So some people think that's just, oh, I've got to get this thing pumped all the time. I've got to do all this maintenance to it. It's actually really easy to take care of a septic tank, and the only thing that's really going to hinder you is the size of the house. So septic tanks are built off of how many bedrooms are in the home. That's just something that some people are like, oh, that's kind of a con for me. I don't really want this. I want to have like, public sewer lines so that all my stuff just goes to the city and they handle it. But I think it's a pro to have it because it's super easy to maintain, and I personally like having everything off-grid to yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is one area like Kings Valley, they will have some public sewer or public water, but for the most part, about 90% of it, you're going to be on that well and septic. But one more con is if you're building new construction out here and you're not tapping into any type of public water, public sewer, you have to get those things permitted. And with a well, you're never exactly sure how deep you're going to have to go to hit that water table. If you want to learn all about water in Colorado in the mountains, we have a sweet video on that. We'll put it up here. But yeah, so that would be a con, especially for new construction, because it's like this variable kind of like unknown, and wells could be like $10,000 per 100 feet.
Yeah.
So
and it can add up.
Yeah, for sure. Pro about septic tanks is because you're pretty much in Jefferson County if you're in CONIFER, and they have a rule that there's a septic use permit that needs to be transferred from the seller of the property to the new buyer of the property in order to exchange ownership of the property. And essentially what it is the seller has to come have the tank pumped and have it inspected before closing. So it's like a take your shit when you go type thing. And I like that.
I like that too, because it also has to be functional. So
right.
If it's not operational, they can't actually sell the house until they get it fixed. So at least it's a peace of mind moving up here knowing that's going to work.
Right. And other counties won't have that requirement. So that's cool about Jefferson County. Let's hit them with we did kind of pros and cons. How about let's go with a absolute pro. Tell them about the shopping.
I think CONIFER actually has an excellent shopping area. So we have two large grocery stores up here, gas stations, automotive repairs. We have like a pawn shop. There's an animal hospital. There's a stage door theater. There's actually a surprising amount of commercial space up here that is all kind of down one big corridor. So you have access to everything within pretty much a 10-minute drive of anywhere you live in CONIFER. Is you can pretty much get to that main shopping and good access. I would say the con on it, though, is it's not a walkable shopping.
Yeah.
Everything, if you want to go to the store, you drive to the store. You want to go to the gas station, then you got to drive all over there. Nothing you can't really walk Conifer. It's not really like downtown Evergreen.
Yeah, exactly. If you're heading down 285, it's the best shopping you're going to find for, 2 hours probably down the road before going further into the mountains. And you don't have like a Best Buy or a Costco or anything like that. But I use, Amazon, and I use like Instacart for those types of items. So I don't really find myself lacking up here in the mountains when it comes to being able to get the items I need. And then like the lumber store and all hardware store and grocery store, there's a couple of them right there, which is sweet. And keeping along with just like it's not super walkable in the area, there's also not as many community events for all of Conifer. You'll find some like hyper local, like, hey, this little neighborhood is gonna have a little party, or an egg hunt or something like that for the kiddos. But we compare it a lot to its like sister community Evergreen, which has the space and has the areas that they throw like the rodeo and big community events, and you just don't really have any of that in Conifer. Do you agree?
I agree with that, because we're all down just that one corridor. Everything in Conifer's pretty much branches off of 285, so shutting down something to make a big community event, it's just really not happening. The best place that they host these things is usually at the high school, just because it has parking for that many people. But yeah, Conifer, that's the one con I would definitely say, is not too many community events, maybe 1 or 2 little parades a year.
If you appreciate these pros and you appreciate these cons, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate you appreciating us. We love doing these videos. We love our YouTube clients, and you giving us this little pop right there helps it get seen by more people. Appreciate you. Next pro of Conifer is the
schools. School system in Conifer is actually very good. Conifer High School at our greaterschools.org rated a 9 out of 10, and the year before that it was a 10 out of 10. So it has almost a 97% graduating rate, which is extremely good, and they offer a ton of AP classes, really getting those students set up to do that next step. There's options to go both directions. If, hey, I want an academic, actually I want to be a mechanic. Conifer High School has great programs. But just without the high school, there's also a great middle school and a couple really good elementary schools. The town's not that big, but for the amount of schools we have here, it is really good education.
Yeah, Josh, pretty much raised in Conifer Evergreen area. He's like right on the border of the areas, and so he can attest to like the programs and the schools. And you feel like a mountain area wouldn't have all these different activities. Well, what Conifer like lacks in community events, they definitely make up for it in like the school activities and things going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they really pride themselves on, is like, we're bringing the community to the schools. So that's where everyone gets together to watch a football game, or even like the marching band was excellent back when I was there, and a lot of people were that was the community drive, was watching your kids' education progress.
Hell yeah. Next con that we have on the list is you are not in direct route to any of the major ski slopes. You can like go the back way, but most people who want to have like the best, most direct access to like Breckenridge, Keystone, all those slopes, Loveland area, they're gonna be like on the I-70 corridor, which is like North Evergreen. We call it the south border of Evergreen. So 285, it doesn't have a direct route to the slope, but there are like plenty of other activities like mountain biking, like off-roading. It's one of the best like drives to take to see, like right now this time of year, to see the leaves changing colors. But yeah, just like you're not on the way to the slope. So as for some people looking for like that ski house, they're usually not all about Conifer for that reason.
Yeah, I would say Conifer is, out of the main Front Range, kind of the worst location to get to ski resorts.
The worst.
To get to skiing.
Next pro is you are still in that great mountain town with access to the Front Range. And so if you're the remote worker now that you might have to go downtown a couple times a week, or you do work downtown and all the time. I have people that live in Conifer and they work out at the airport because they'll just take 285 to 470, loop around, and they're there. And so you are 35, 40 minutes in most places while you're in Conifer to still getting down to the Front Range, which a lot of people find that like super attractive because you're in the mountains, but you don't feel like you're on an island out here without any of those like big city amenities. And then the other pro to the drive is that 285 is a great drive. So I mentioned I-70 earlier. It's like the main corridor to the ski slopes, the mountains, and it gets way busier up there. 285 outside of like this time of year in the fall when the leaves are changing colors and you're getting all that weekend traffic to go back there and gawk at the dying of the leaves, just the death of the trees. But besides that, it's it's a little bit slower, 2 lanes most of the way, sometimes 1, but it's a very gorgeous drive as well. And so I would say like mountain miles aren't the same as like if you're going from like Lakewood to Aurora. I would much rather be cruising up 285 to get home rather than being stuck in traffic on I-25.
For sure.
Can I get a huh?
Uh-huh. Preach.
Next con we're going to hit you with is insurance cost, because as we hit this like time of global warming and things getting hotter, we are a high montane, arid like climate area, which has its pros, but it's gonna hit your pocketbook when it comes to your home insurance.
Because we're all volunteer fire departments up here, that is a big risk, is forest fires. So insurance companies think of us as a liability to insure, so they usually, make your cost to insure go up. It's actually been a little difficult for some people, especially if they have a log cabin or a log sided home, to find good insurance up here because some insurance companies just think we're too risky.
Yep. And it is becoming more of an issue. We're going to do a video on just this specific topic because it's just been coming up more and more. And I wouldn't say it's impossible to find insurance a lot of the time, but we are just seeing like more nuances where you don't have a lot of providers. You might have 1 or 2 that you can go with, and you're kind of at the mercy of their cost.
Yeah, and sometimes their cost is freaks people out, that they're actually like, I don't want to be up here because of how much that costs. But yeah. Realistically, there's options, but it's definitely a con right now.
If you want to weigh that out to justify it, is our property taxes are super low out here, and so you're going to pay more for your home insurance, but property taxes are lower. So I don't know, hopefully that helps you digest it. And then when it comes to just like buying a property kind of along the route of the insurance, when you need to get the home insured, part of the under contract process is that we have you reach out to different insurance companies to see who can provide to this property and make sure it meshes well with your expectations and your budget. But if the home is maybe like sitting for like 45, 50 years, and the homeowner hasn't done any like tree mitigation for the trees right around the house, insurance companies are going to want to knock down some of these trees to reduce some of the fire risk to the home, which it makes sense, but it's just like one extra element that we always have to be looking at when we're helping you guys buy and sell a home. We are one of the #1 relocation teams in the mountain foothills up here, so we help people all the time figuring out which area is best for them, finding that perfect home for them, and then helping them lock it down. So if you're interested in just getting started in that conversation about which area is best for you, we'd love to set a buyer's consultation with you to go through all of that and give you a roadmap of what to expect, because once you get out there and you start looking, things can still move pretty fast up here. And so give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, scroll by fence,
send me that pigeon,
and we got your back. Next pro we're going to talk about is the terrain, and I guess you could kind of make this a con as well, but the terrain is a little bit more mountainy in Conifer, which is a pro because a lot of people want to be in the mountains and they want mountain views, and a lot of people also want to be in the mountains because they don't want to see their neighbor. And so you could typically get away with having an acre and you have tremendous views. Your neighbor might be relatively close, but they're like down over the hill and you don't see them, right?
Yeah, because of how big our terrain goes up in Conifer, I mean, it starts at 7,000 and some places goes up to 10 to 11,000, is you get those mile views. And you don't really see that compared to other Front Range towns, is because they're usually like some set down in a meadow, or most of the houses aren't all the like up on top of the mountain. But Conifer, they built them mountain high, and you're just like, whoa, I can see Denver from my house over here. And it's crazy.
Yeah, you can see Denver, and then I look right and I see the
Continental
Divide. So it is like really sweet spot for Conifer. And I guess with the terrain, I mean, obviously you guys are moving to the mountains, that's why you're watching this video, but I'd say like the altitude, you know, for most people, depending on like, I guess your level of fitness, I think some people that maybe don't take as well of care of themselves, they struggle a little bit more getting acclimated. Most people do eventually, you know, they get used to it and it's, you know, that bad, but when you're moving in and you're moving boxes, you're definitely gonna feel it. You're like, holy crap, this altitude is tough. Pros to altitude: if you drink, less alcohol to get you tipsy, feeling strong. Another pro of the altitude would be our snow is lighter and fluffier and happier, and that's really awesome. Another con of the altitude would be
it gets way colder. If some people don't like that, being up here, some spots in Conifer, like I said, can go up to 10,000 feet. On an average summer day at 10,000 feet is still about 70 degrees is the high. So just something to be aware about at that altitude, is being up that high, is it's never really going to peak at, you're never going to see anything over 100. And if we do, then the world is burning.
Yeah.
That is not good over here.
And if you're not familiar with the altitude, like 10,000, he's saying like that's the high end. That's like the top of Conifer Mountain that you're going to be getting those altitudes. But for the most part, you're going to be getting probably like 10 to 15 degrees cooler than what you're finding in the Front Range, which I think is sweet. I mean, it's just really like hoodie weather. If the sun's hitting you, you're nice and toasty, you're warm. If you're in the shadow, as soon as that sun goes down, it's hoodie weather for sure.
Yep. I would say the next pro for sure for Conifer is because of the terrain and how everything's laid out, there are a ton of hiking trails. So if you're coming over this way and you're like, I'm, you know, super outdoorsy, I'm an active person, I need that lifestyle, Conifer has a ton of options. There's so many different places that you can go to. You can go to good hiking, mountain biking, horseback riding, a ton of outdoor activities over there. So one for sure con is 285 is one of the most dangerous highways in the United States. And the only reason that is because we're allowed to go 55 and we get crazy weather sometimes. So some people who are not used to driving in the snow slide off. It's kind of unfortunate that we have actually had a lot of deaths on 285 every year. So it's the one corridor, so that's what makes it, I think, so dangerous, is you don't really have any other options to get in or out. Otherwise, you're hooking all the way around over to I-70, and that could take you another half hour just to get there. From Conifer, your main corridor back down to Denver and greater Denver metro area is 285, and that's the only way you can go.
Usually just like take it easy, man, because from the sun and the wind and just going from the sun to the shade, like the road condition can change very quickly, especially on big snowy days. You'll always see just cars that just slid off the road.
Yep. Honestly, if you just get snow tires, and Colorado allows for studded snow tires, I would either recommend all-terrain tires, or I have snow tires with studs on them that I rotate out, and you'll be totally fine.
We're going to hit you with one more con, and we're going to talk about some of that sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. Last con, I would say, is just like food delivery. Not really gonna happen.
Yeah, so there is a Domino's. Yep.
That's it. And maybe they might not come. If you're closer to 285, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're back too far, like Richmond Hill or something like that,
they're gonna be like, that's too much. So yeah, food delivery is not good up here, and we don't really have a Grubhub or anything like that.
Yeah.
So if that's something super important to you, Conifer, that's definitely a con.
Well, even in Evergreen, you're not gonna find that too. So it's most mountain towns. I think that's probably just like an overall mountain town thing, unless you're just like super close to a particular restaurant and they have their own delivery service, but it's uncommon. I thought that was going to be a big deal because I went from the city up to the mountain and I was like, oh, I like to eat out a lot. Is this going to be a problem? It's not too bad because I'll still swoop by a restaurant on the way back from like the gym or something like that if I really want to stop somewhere. But then when I get home, it's just like I got my home food, and it actually like helps out with my diet and my budget a lot. So we'll spin that.
Yeah.
We'll make that a pro.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was like, I learned to cook a ton because that's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Boom. And our last pro, we're gonna hit you with that sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And it's all optional, the sex, drugs, or rock and roll. And don't have sex at the rock and roll place. But we are super close to Red Rocks Amphitheater, world-renowned music amphitheaters cut out of the rocks of the Rocky Mountains. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It's amazing. You get top talent, in the world. And it is like right down the road from us, like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, at the most.
Yeah. And then if you live in CONIFER, everyone's basically heading back down the hill, and you just get to skirt, avoid all of that traffic. And so going to see shows and going if you're super into music, like Colorado, we have an amazing music scene, but you have the pinnacle of amazing music venues just right down the road. It's fantastic. CONIFER is great. It's not for everybody. Maybe Bailey is good for you. Maybe Morrison. Maybe Idaho Springs. Like, so plenty of other amazing mountain towns that have their own unique feel. So go check out some of our other videos. We have a playlist just about living in mountain areas and things to think about. But ultimately, when you get down to it and you're ready to make some moves, give Josh and Sean a call, the Moxie team. We've got your back, and we'd love to help you out.
Till next time.
See ya.
See ya.